Hello, my name is Mark Rodriguez, and never in my wildest dreams did I imagine I'd be sharing this experience. I was a man of science, a geophysicist dedicated to studying the imposing Antarctic ice walls, who always trusted only in what could be measured and observed. That certainty shattered on February 12th, 2025, the day my life ended. I was deep on a new expedition when calamity struck. In a blink, I found myself gazing upon my own lifeless form from above. What unfolded defied every principle of physics I had once held dear. In that surreal moment, Jesus revealed to me the hidden truth about Antarctica, the looming deceit and the mysteries lurking beyond the ice. What was meant to be a routine venture, a regular day in the uncharted, frigid expanse of Antarctica, turned into something far more extraordinary. Our scientific team, myself included, had been investigating peculiar electromagnetic signals emerging from deep below the ice. These signals, detected over several months, fluctuated in ways that defied any rational explanation. My role was to decode these patterns, to determine whether they hinted at unknown geothermal activity or a mysterious force hidden beneath the frozen surface. On the morning of February 12, 2025, I rose early at our research outpost. The sun barely crested the horizon, painting the ice fields in an eerie blue glow. While donning my thermal gear, I felt an inexplicable disquiet, not exactly fear, but a nagging sense that something was awry. I brushed it off as merely the result of weeks of sleep deprivation. That day's mission was to drill deeper than ever before, aiming at a spot that had been emitting unusual, low-frequency vibrations. The deeper we went, the stranger our surroundings became. Suddenly, our equipment began to malfunction. Our GPS units faltered, and even our radios picked up distorted murmurs, sounds that clearly weren't generated by any of us. Then, precisely at 11:42 a.m., it happened. A colossal crack opened right beneath my feet. The ice, which had been solid and unyielding moments before, shattered like delicate glass. I had no time to react. One moment I stood on firm ground, and the next I was plunging into darkness, engulfed by the freezing void. The final memory before darkness overtook me was the static of the radio in my ear. I heard a cry, someone from my team calling my name, but it was too late. The expedition to Antarctica had been in the works for over a year. Our objective had been to uncover the source of the anomalies beneath the ice. For decades, scientists had speculated about the secrets hidden under the frozen wastelands. With government approval, our research team was granted access to areas long kept off limits. What we discovered defied all our expectations. Just days before my death, we had uncovered evidence of structures beneath the ice. Were these man-made constructions, or remnants from a civilization older than humankind? The data was baffling. Satellite images revealed perfectly symmetrical formations, impossible geometric patterns, and something enormous buried miles below. I had dismissed conspiracy theories all my life, but as I stared at radar images depicting phenomena that defied natural law, I realized something had been deliberately concealed from the world. As we drilled deeper, the environment grew increasingly unnatural. Our drills were meant to pierce solid ice, yet instead they encountered hollow chambers, with temperatures inexplicably warmer than expected. The air itself pulsed with an odd electric charge, causing our instruments to flicker erratically. Then all communications were abruptly cut off. One moment we were in contact with mission control, and the next, every signal was reduced to static. No radio chatter, no satellite phone, no emergency beacon, only silence. That's when the ground began to shudder, and within minutes the entire drilling site started to sink. I tried to call out to my colleagues, but then everything crumbled. When my body struck the ice, I should have felt excruciating, crushing pain, yet I did not. Instead, I experienced a peculiar lightness, a sensation of liberation. It took me a moment to comprehend what had occurred. I was suspended, floating above the scene. Below me, my body lay twisted, partially entombed in broken ice. I should have been horrified, but instead I felt an uncanny calm, devoid of panic or struggle. And then I saw them. At the edge of the fissure stood figures clad in white, glowing entities that watched in silence. Though their faces were hidden, their presence exuded an otherworldly power, instantly telling me they were not human. As I turned, an unseen force began pulling me upward. All around, the ice, the ruins, my team, everything dissolved. A radiant tunnel of light unfolded before me, unlike any I had ever witnessed. It was not merely a passage of light, but one that pulsed with life, humming with vibrant energy and power. Without hesitation, I stepped forward. Then I heard a voice, a powerful yet gentle tone calling, "Mark." In that moment, I recognized it immediately. It was Jesus. Tears welled in my eyes as I beheld him standing there, his presence more tangible than anything I'd ever known. Every doubt I harbored about the afterlife, faith, and even science vanished instantly. "You have been brought here for a purpose. What you are about to witness must be shared," he declared. I glanced back to see my lifeless body on the ice. The rescue team had arrived, frantically attempting to revive me. My heart had been still for 12 minutes. Yet as I watched their desperate efforts, something else caught my attention. They were not alone. Dark figures moved around them, unseen by the living, murmuring in incomprehensible tones. An instinctive knowledge settled within me. Whatever these beings were, they did not belong to the realm of light. They were drawn to death and fear, circling like vultures. Then Jesus placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder and said, "Do not fear them. They have no power over those who are mine." As he spoke, the shadowy figures recoiled, hissing as they melted into the darkness. The world is oblivious to what lies beyond their limited vision. But you, Mark, will now see. "Come," he beckoned. "There is something you must understand about what lies beneath Antarctica," he continued. At those words, the landscape around me shifted, and suddenly I was no longer in the familiar ice fields. I found myself transported to a place that defied all I had known. As Jesus took my hand, the icy remnants of Antarctica faded into memory. I had anticipated the well-known tunnel of light that near-death survivors often describe. Yet what greeted me was different. The light was not a mere tunnel. It was a gateway, a threshold bridging two realities. It stretched before me like an endless path, and I instinctively understood that this was no ordinary passage. The air, or whatever enveloped me, vibrated with a mysterious energy, as if charged with an unfathomable presence. I took a cautious step forward, and immediately I was carried effortlessly, drawn toward something far greater. Colors beyond human comprehension danced around me, shifting and merging in ways that defied logic. It was breathtaking and overwhelming all at once. Then, as abruptly as the journey had begun, it halted. I found myself standing on firm ground, though the surface underfoot was unlike anything I had ever encountered. It wasn't rock nor ice, but something living, pulsating with energy. Jesus stood beside me, his presence radiating pure love and authority. "Look, Mark, and witness what has been hidden," he urged. Before me spread a landscape utterly foreign to my eyes. It was neither heaven nor earth, but something altogether different. At its center, like a fortress rising from the bedrock of existence, were colossal, ancient, and unyielding walls of ice. The realization struck me forcefully. These were not natural formations. The Antarctic ice walls had been positioned here deliberately. Jesus spoke, his voice a blend of sorrow and resolve. Soon, the world will try to break them. I turned to him, my mind racing with questions, yet as I met his gaze, all fear and uncertainty dissolved. His face defies description, both familiar and transcendent, filled with infinite wisdom and compassion. His eyes, deep and endless pools of light, seemed to contain all knowledge and understanding. You were chosen to see this because you have spent your life seeking answers, he explained. But some truths cannot be measured. They must be unveiled. I felt tears streaming down my spiritual self, though I couldn't explain why. It was as if his presence dissolved every doubt I had ever harbored. Yet he loved me unconditionally. Raising his hand, I suddenly perceived the earth in its true form, not through mortal eyes, but from a divine perspective. The Antarctic region I had devoted my life to studying appeared transformed. The ice walls were not merely natural barriers, but something far more profound, placed by design. There is a reason mankind has been kept from knowing what lies beyond, Jesus said, adding that soon that protection would be removed. A deep sadness tinged his voice, and I knew that what he was about to reveal would forever alter my perception of reality. As Jesus extended his hand, my vision broadened. It was as though I had been blind all my life and was suddenly able to see beyond the veil. I beheld Antarctica from above. But this was not the desolate wasteland I had known. Beneath the ice, hidden in timeless layers, lay vast structures, cities, fortresses, and something else, something living. These walls were erected to seal away what must remain untouched, Jesus explained. In horror, I watched governments and scientists, including colleagues of mine, drill deeper and deeper, unwittingly disturbing what had been kept dormant for eons. They believed they were unearthing history, but in truth, they were unleashing something far older than humanity. Beneath the ice, hidden entities stirred, beings that had existed long before humankind, sealed away by divine command, their presence obscured by science and dismissed as myth. Yet, they were undeniably real. I witnessed future events unfold, news broadcasts heralding groundbreaking discoveries in Antarctica, leaders discussing novel technological advancements, and whispers of alien contact. But it was all a deception. The public would be led to believe that these findings marked a step forward, an evolutionary milestone, when in fact it signaled the beginning of the end. Deception is Satan's most potent weapon, Jesus warned, and the world is walking straight into his trap. I longed to deny it, to cling to the belief that the discoveries in Antarctica were merely scientific breakthroughs, nothing more. But Jesus revealed a deeper truth. They have been orchestrating this for decades, he said, preparing the world to accept what is coming. I saw secret government meetings, clandestine discussions among the elite, and behind it all, a greater force maneuvering events. They weren't merely unearthing history, they were following a predetermined script. Jesus unveiled to me a world teetering on the brink. Economic collapse, geopolitical turmoil, and fear spreading like wildfire. And then came the announcement. World leaders would proclaim that something monumental had been found beneath Antarctica, something powerful, something revolutionary. They would convince humanity that it was the key to our future, the next stage in evolution, and people would believe them. The enemy will cloak it as enlightenment, Jesus cautioned, a gift, a means to unify humanity. But in truth, they are opening a door that should never be unlocked. I felt a chill of terror seep into my soul as I realized the gravity of his words. This was not simply about concealed civilizations or ancient ruins. It was about something far more sinister. The Antarctic ice walls were not mere barriers. They were seals, designed to keep something that was never meant to resurface. Standing beside me, Jesus let the vision unfold before my eyes. What I had once dismissed as allegory, religious metaphors, spiritual warfare, fallen entities, hidden realms, was now undeniably real. The Antarctic ice walls were not simply physical obstructions. They were divine seals, placed to prevent something far more dangerous from emerging into our world. The battle has never been fought with flesh and blood, Jesus said, his voice filled with sorrow, but it has always been between forces beyond human sight. And now, the enemy is preparing for his most cunning deception. Before me, I saw beings of darkness, their forms twisting in and out of the ice, causing the very air to tremble. They were not human, nor were they simply extraterrestrial, as many speculated. They were something entirely different. They had been banished, confined beneath the frozen wasteland, their influence suppressed for millennia. Yet humanity, in its arrogance and insatiable thirst for knowledge, was on the verge of unleashing them. A vast rift opened in the ice, and shadows began to seep out into the world. Scientists, unaware of the impending doom, celebrated their discoveries, while hidden leaders observed, fully aware of the consequences. The world would soon change, but not as anyone expected. They will come disguised as saviors, Jesus said, his eyes brimming with sorrow, and many will embrace them with open arms. As the vision continued, I was shown what lay beyond the Antarctic ice walls, something I could never have imagined even in my wildest dreams. The ice did not merely conceal ancient ruins or buried civilizations. It served as a gateway, a boundary between our world and another. A colossal city, constructed of materials unknown to humanity, lay hidden beneath the surface. Its architecture was not of human origin. The structures were geometrically impossible, shifting and pulsating as if alive. At the heart of this city stood a throne, yet the one destined to occupy it was not divine. I observed world leaders, the wealthy, the powerful, and even some spiritual figures congregate around this structure, their eyes brimming with awe and reverence. They had been waiting for this moment. This was not merely an archaeological discovery. It was a long-conceived revelation. Jesus turned to me. They will call it a new beginning, a new era of enlightenment. But now you see the truth. It is the final deception. I saw global news broadcasts inundate screens worldwide, with journalists proclaiming a revelation that would redefine history. Scientists would assert that humanity was never truly alone, that this discovery confirmed our connection to beings beyond our comprehension. And then, the ultimate lie unfolded before my eyes. The world would be led to believe that these ancient beings were humanity's true creators, that the old religions, even Christianity, had misinterpreted our origins. The deception would be so profound that even the chosen might be misled. Jesus looked at me, and his next words sent shivers down my spine. The real test of faith begins now. I turned to him, my heart pounding with dread. How can they remain blind? How will people accept this truth? His expression was both pained and resolute. The enemy does not use brute force. He wields deception. He will not force them to choose between good and evil. He will persuade them that what is evil is, in fact, good. I witnessed celebrations around the world as people rejoiced while governments announced new partnerships with these so-called advanced beings. Technology would surge forward at an unimaginable pace, offering cures for diseases, limitless energy, and even artificial extensions of life. The world would hail it as progress, but in exchange, they would have to surrender something far more valuable: their free will, their spiritual insight, their connection to God. The mark will follow after this, Jesus warned, not as an imposition, but as a choice shrouded in promise. They will be told it is the next step in human evolution, that it will make them stronger, healthier, and more intelligent. Yet they fail to grasp that embracing it will cut them off from me permanently. I watched as people queued up eagerly for the upgrade. It wasn't forced upon anyone. It wasn't something they feared at all. They desired it. They hungered for it. Their minds had long been shaped by decades of subtle conditioning. I witnessed congregations split apart, some denouncing this new evolution of mankind, others welcoming it wholeheartedly. Countless spiritual leaders took the stage, assuring their followers that this wasn't the mark of the beast, but merely a step forward. Then Jesus revealed the spiritual toll it would exact. With every soul that accepted this gift, a part of their inner light dimmed. Their sincere ability to pray began to falter. Their bond with God was broken. They could no longer hear the gentle whisper of the Holy Spirit or feel the stirring of true conviction. They carried on with their daily routines, walking, talking, living, but they were no longer the same. Their souls had been irrevocably transformed. While I stood rooted in horror, Jesus reached out and touched my shoulder. It's time for you to return. You've witnessed what is coming, and now you must warn them. I longed to remain and ask him so many questions, but before I could speak, everything dissolved into darkness. In the next instant, I gasped for air as my body convulsed, the sting of reality crashing back in. The shouts of doctors filled the room in utter shock. I had been clinically dead for 12 minutes. Dazed, I looked around, struggling to comprehend what had just transpired. My team hovered nearby, some in tears, others rendered speechless. The scientific instruments still flickered, recording anomalies beneath the ice, as if they, too, sensed that something had shifted. Yet I knew deep down that I had seen what was impending. Lying in that hospital bed, I realized why I'd been given a second chance. The world needed to be warned of the looming deception, a deception for which few were ready. Jesus had unveiled the truth to me, and now it was my duty to share it. But would anyone listen? That decision was no longer mine to control. The moment I returned to life, I felt like a stranger in my own skin. My lungs burned as I gasped for air, and my heart pounded as if it had been ignited by an unseen force. The sterile scent of the hospital room was the first thing that struck me, followed by the frantic voices of my medical team. "He's back!" a nurse exclaimed, pressing her fingers to my wrist to check for a pulse. Doctors swarmed around me, their faces a mix of disbelief and urgency, reminding everyone that I had been dead for 12 minutes, no brain activity, no heartbeat. And yet, here I was, fully conscious, staring at them with eyes that carried the weight of eternity. What unsettled them most, however, was not my revival, but the manner in which I returned. I sat up almost immediately, gripping the sides of the bed, as vivid memories of what I had seen overwhelmed me. It felt as though my mind had split in two, one part anchored in the physical realm, the other still tethered to the vision Jesus had shown me. I was never the same again. A tall doctor with graying hair and a skeptical frown finally broke the silence. "Mark, you were clinically dead. Do you remember anything?" I fixed him with a dry, aching stare, wondering how I could possibly explain what I had experienced. With a hoarse whisper, I shared the only truth that mattered. Jesus is real. The deception is coming. And Antarctica, it isn't what we think it is. The room fell silent. Some exchanged uneasy glances, while others dismissed my words as delirium, but one young nurse at the back looked at me with wide, understanding eyes. Hesitantly, she stepped forward and murmured, "I've heard whispers about Antarctica. about what they hide from us. The doctor shot her a warning glance, yet I saw genuine fear in her expression. She wasn't dismissing me. She believed me. In that moment I realized why I had been sent back. The world had to know. In the weeks following my return, I wrestled with what to do next. I knew what I'd seen. I knew what Jesus had revealed to me. But how could I make the world listen? Scientists, skeptics, even my own colleagues would scoff if I told them that Antarctica was more than just a frozen wasteland, that it was a sealed battleground between forces beyond human understanding. I tried to resume my normal life, to lose myself in research, but everything felt hollow. My work, once my greatest passion, now seemed trivial in the face of eternity, and at night the visions would not cease. I saw the deception take shape. Governments were slowly leaking fragments of truth, preparing the public for a grand lie. News outlets began reporting on inexplicable heat signatures beneath the ice and mysterious ancient ruins. I heard leaders strategizing on how to control the narrative, introducing these discoveries in phases so that, when the time arrived, the world would accept them as truth. And the words Jesus echoed in my mind. They will say it's enlightenment, they will call it progress, but it is the final deception. I couldn't stay silent. I had to warn people, though I knew the risks. Those who spoke out, those who tried to expose the truth, often disappeared. Careers ruined, reputations shattered, voices silenced under ridicule and misinformation. So I began small, sharing my testimony with trusted friends, people with open hearts and discerning minds. Some believed me immediately, others hesitated, fearful of what it might mean if I were right. Then something happened that confirmed everything. A former government official with deep ties to classified Antarctic research reached out. He had heard my story, and his words sent chills down my spine. "You aren't mistaken, Mark. There is something beneath that ice, and they're preparing to reveal it to the world, but not in the way you imagine." I pressed him for details, but he offered no more than that, leaving me with a stark warning. When they announce it, don't trust a word they say. And now, as I write this message, time is running out. If you're reading these words, know that this isn't a conspiracy theory or wild speculation. It's a warning. In the coming weeks, perhaps even months, the world will begin to see major announcements about Antarctica. They'll claim to have made a historic discovery, one that will change our understanding of our origins. They'll assert it's proof of humanity's true past, framing it as a moment of unity, a step toward a brighter future for all. But it will all be a lie. What lies beneath the ice was never meant to be unearthed. The ice walls were placed for a reason, to confine something within, not to keep us out. And now, humanity is on the verge of breaking that seal. I'm not here to tell you what to do, but I implore you, when you see it unfolding, remember my testimony. Do not accept the narrative they present to you. Don't be deceived by promises of enlightenment, progress, or newfound knowledge. Remain steadfast in prayer. Stay close to Jesus. The deception is coming, but those who remain vigilant, those who are truly prepared, will not be fooled. This is my testimony. I don't know how much longer I have, but I had to speak out before it's too late. May God grant you eyes to see and ears to listen. After sharing my testimony, I expected relief. Instead, an even heavier burden settled on my soul. The more I observed the world unfold, the clearer it became that everything Jesus had shown me was already beginning. Reports of mysterious phenomena in Antarctica multiplied. The media, once silent about the region, now flashed cryptic headlines hinting at discoveries beneath the ice. Former colleagues appeared on television discussing breakthrough findings soon to be disclosed, and I felt sick to my stomach. I wasn't merely watching the future approach. I was witnessing it unfold in real time. One sleepless night, I turned on the news. A panel of experts discussed recent findings from the ice sheets, suggesting that something ancient and inexplicable had been detected deep within. The anchor hailed it as the greatest scientific discovery of our time, and I froze at the tone of their delivery. It wasn't just excitement, it was calculated. The way they presented the information, the gradual conditioning of the public, and the subtle hints of something more, it was exactly what Jesus had warned me about. I knew what would come next. First, they drip-feed information, easing the public into the idea of a hidden past. Then, they'd steadily push the deception forward, using trusted voices, scientists, political leaders, even spiritual figures, to persuade the world that what was coming was a gift. I remembered Jesus' words, "They won't force them to choose between good and evil. They'll convince them that evil is, in fact, good." This was just the beginning. I switched off the TV, my hands trembling. I knew I had to do more. In the days that followed, I wrestled with the enormity of my task. I was just one man, one voice among billions. How could I possibly halt what was coming? Then I recalled Jesus' counsel. Your job isn't to convince the world, it's to speak the truth. Those who seek truth will recognize it. So I decided to go all in. I reached out to journalists, independent news outlets, even former colleagues who already doubted the official Antarctic narratives. Some listened, some laughed. But I wasn't discouraged. The truth was never meant for the masses. It was for those with eyes to truly see. As I worked to spread the warning, something unexpected occurred. Strangers, scientists, researchers, even ex-military personnel began contacting me privately. They had witnessed things they weren't allowed to discuss. Some had been part of classified Antarctic missions and encountered inexplicable structures. Others had been silenced for asking too many questions. One message in particular haunted me. A man claiming to be a former government scientist sent me an encrypted email containing one chilling line. "You were right, but it's already too late." I read those words repeatedly, my mind racing. Did he mean that the deception had already started, that the seal had already been broken? I tried to reach him again, but the email had vanished, deleted without a trace. Fear gripped my heart. What if Jesus had shown me these things not to prevent them, but as a final call to prepare those willing to listen? I sat in the dim glow of my office, my hands clutching the edge of my desk. I had devoted my entire career to seeking truth in science, logic, and the natural world, yet the greatest truth had been revealed to me beyond death itself. And now, my time to share it was running out. I grabbed my phone and opened my recording app. If you're listening, it means the deception has already begun. I took a deep breath. Do not believe what they tell you. The ice walls were never meant to be shattered. Soon, the world will witness miracles, but they will be counterfeit. Remain anchored in the truth. Cling tightly to Jesus. Reject the upgrade. Do not embrace the mark. Remain vigilant. Stay prepared. The time is upon us. I pressed save, overwhelmed by sorrow, yet enveloped in a strange peace. I had done what I was called to do. Now, the rest is in God's hands.